Welcome to today's Explainer. If you're looking to really understand the cultural DNA of India, you're in the exact right spot. Today we're going to unpack a truly fascinating list of 17 distinct national symbols. And these aren't just, random items picked out of a hat. No way. Together, they represent the unique culture, history, and literally staggering biodiversity of this massive, beautifully complex civilization. So let's figure out exactly what these are and, more importantly, why they actually matter.
Okay, let's dive into this. To really grasp the soul of the nation, it helps to group these 17 symbols thematically, rather than just memorizing a dry list. So we'll look at them in this order. 1. The heart of India. 2. Pillars of the state. 3. The wild subcontinent. 4. India's natural bounty. And finally, 5. The power of symbols.
Starting off with Section 1, the heart of India. Core symbols. Let's explore our first stop on this thematic tour, the foundational markers that unite citizens in their day-to-day lives.
So we kick things off with two absolutely fundamental pieces of Indian identity. First up is the Tiranga, the national flag. This was brilliantly designed by Pingali Venkaya, and the colors, they're totally intentional. Saffron at the top stands for strength, the white in the middle with that 24-spoke Dharma chakra is all about peace, and the green at the bottom signifies fertility. Now, paired with that visual is an auditory anchor, the national pledge. Interestingly, it was originally composed in Telugu back in 1962, and today it's recited by millions of students every single day to really anchor them to the Republic.
Now, this next part is fascinating. India actually has both a national anthem and a national song. The anthem, Jana, Gana, has Bengali origins. It was composed by Rabindranath Tagore and was first sung way back in 1911. But then, alongside it, you have the national song, Vande Mataram. This one dates back even further to 1882. It was composed in Sanskrit by Bankim Chandra Chatterjee for his novel Anand Math, and it became a massive rallying cry during the struggle for freedom.
Because both of these compositions carried such immense, visceral, emotional weight for the country, they kind of had to be placed on the exact same pedestal. So in 1950, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, the president, made this really decisive statement. He said, "The song Vande Mataram, which has played a historic part in the struggle for Indian freedom, shall be honored equally with Jana Gana Mana." That single declaration cemented both of these historic musical pieces permanently into the identity of the nation.
Moving on to Section 2, Pillars of the State, Institutions and Markers. Here we transition to the formal, administrative symbols that visually define the modern Indian Republic.
Let's move to our next point and see how this identity was methodically built over the decades. It's like a timeline coming together. It starts in 1911 when the anthem was first sung. Fast forward to the eve of independence in 1947 when the Tiranga flag is officially adopted. And then, jumping a decade post-independence, the Saka calendar is introduced in 1957.
Speaking of the Saka calendar, its official usage began on March 22, 1957. This was actually a crucial move because it gave the newly formed republic a unified national timekeeping system. It's made up of 12 months, starting with Chaitra, which, by the way, aligns with late March on our Gregorian calendar, and it wraps up with the month of Falguna. Now, what's really interesting about this next symbol is the profound thought put into something as everyday as currency. The Indian rupee symbol was designed by Udaya Kumar Dharmalingam and adopted recently in 2010. It's a clever mix of the Devanagari consonant Ra and the Latin letter R. But look at those two horizontal lines at the top. They're not just for show. They reflect the Indian tricolor flag, and they act as an equality sign, which symbolizes the nation's desire to reduce economic disparity. Pretty brilliant, right?
The final pillar of the state we're looking at is the national emblem. This was adapted from the ancient lion capital of Ashoka at Sarnath. It features 4 Asiatic lions standing back to back. It's just a raw, powerful symbol of courage and confidence. Beneath those lions is a beautifully carved abacus featuring an elephant, a galloping horse, a bull, and a lion. And inscribed right at the bottom is the famous motto, Satyameva Jayate, which simply translates to, "Truth alone triumphs."
All right, Section 3, the wild subcontinent, national fauna. Time to shift gears from the structured world of statecraft into the untamed, incredible beauty of India's jungles and rivers.
A subcontinent with this much biodiversity literally can't just pick one representative. So the Royal Bengal tiger claims the spot of national animal. Up in the air, you've got the vividly colored Indian peacock, declared the national bird in 1963. Down in the waters, the Ganges River dolphin, which also happens to be Guwahati's city animal, is the national aquatic animal. On land, the king cobra slithers as the national reptile, and rounding it all out, the majestic Indian elephant holds the special title of national heritage animal.
6 milliliters. That is the amount of venom a king cobra can inject in a single bite. It's wild. This snake can grow up to 19 feet long, but it wasn't just chosen for its frankly fearsome biology. It actually has immense cultural significance. In Hinduism, they are known as Nagas, which are considered divine, and Lord Shiva is very often depicted with a cobra coiled gracefully around his neck. But listen, designating these symbols isn't just about prestige, it's a direct call to action for conservation. Take the Royal Bengal tiger. It was adopted as the national animal in 1973, actually replacing the lion, specifically to shine a giant spotlight on the tiger's dwindling population. It's the exact same story with the Indian elephant. It was declared a national heritage animal because it's listed as endangered, facing severe threats right now from habitat loss. Moving to Section 4, India's natural bounty, flora and rivers. We're transitioning from the animals to the flora, the fruits of the land, and the rivers that sustain it all.
We absolutely have to start with the water that fuels the entire subcontinent. The Ganga, or Ganges, is the national river, and its geographical and cultural scale is just hard to wrap your head around. It originates way up in the Himalayas at the Gangotri Glacier, as the Bhagirathi River, and it stretches for an incredible 2,510 kilometers. It flows through deeply historic cities like Varanasi, Allahabad, and Haridwar. For Hindus, it is universally revered as the most sacred river on Earth.
When we look at the Earth's yield, every single choice here is steeped in deeper meaning. The Indian Banyan is the national tree, often known as the tree of wish fulfillment. The national flower is the sacred lotus, representing spirituality. For the national fruit, you have the sweet, affectionately titled king of fruits, the mango. And finally, and this one surprises a lot of people, the pumpkin is officially designated as the national vegetable. No way, right? But it's true.
Which brings us to Section 5, the power of symbols, unifying a nation. We've covered flags, calendars, animals, and plants. Now let's tie it all together.
So the crucial point is this: why do these 17 symbols matter? They aren't just trivia. Together, they exemplify the rich cultural fiber residing right at the core of the country. They're designed to infuse a real sense of pride and represent qualities that are utterly unique to India's civilization. By giving them this elevated official status, the country ensures that its rich heritage is popularized and preserved for generations to come.
And that brings us to the end of our explainer. But before you go, I want to leave you with this final thought. Think about the massive diversity of India, the different languages, the climates, the thousands of years of history. How does a nation with that much sweeping diversity distill its entire identity into just a handful of shared symbols? It's a pretty incredible feat of cultural unification, isn't it? I'd encourage you to think about the symbols that define your own cultural heritage. What do they truly stand for? Thanks for joining me on this deep dive today. Keep learning, and I'll see you next time.